it was a lot of acting, but by the 8 hour mark or something, it started to become real.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Pretty good. And
Uh,
you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on this movie. This is like one of those genres that like obviously has been going on forever and ever when you think of movies. And I feel like it's sort of this rite of passage to get to be in a movie like this. Is that something for an actor, because obviously you were all young and when you start off as kid actors, you get the kid roles and whatever. Is there ever a moment when you're like, I am an adult actor now, or you've hit that mark of being like, I've made it and I'm not like a kid anymore.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in terms of what you were saying, where like, you start out as a child actor, you're getting all those kinds of child roles. There's some kind of like enjoyment, this sort of like back of your mind, like from being able to just like break through and be able to like swear and do all these adult things, that you've been like dreaming about doing. And obviously we're not adults yet. It definitely feels really cool to be able to do this kind of more mature movie dealing with more mature topics, and maybe giving us a segue into the adult world as actors.
That's true. I mean, what Rafa said, I mean, we're not technically adults yet, but we're in this
Right
little,
there.
there's this awkward little middle spot where we're like, are we kids or are we adults? And I feel like this movie really shows that. The stuff we do in this movie isn't usually what you'd see in a kid's show. So I feel like we're all on our way.
I feel like this project is the perfect segue, into our second tier and second sector, into our careers and going into that young adulthood. So it's so fantastic that we got to do this.
And that's one of the things with acting. It's like as I'm watching it, when I was a kid, you just want to cuss, you just want to do these things, but you're always like scared of your parents. Where when you're in a movie like this, you just get that freedom to just like what is it like getting to do that first, like just yell fuck and no one's gonna say anything to you? Like, is that just kind of like make the experience so much more fun? Is it like you get home and you're like, oh, can't say that in front of my mom still? Or like, how does that
No,
feel?
it's a certain level of power that gets attained. You taste it one
Right?
time.
It's like, did any of you
Like a
have that
power
moment
trip.
on in this movie, like one scene, and you're just like, this
Oh,
is what
yeah.
I've been waiting for?
I mean, it definitely happened multiple times, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, that was kind of like, I don't know, like a euphoric kind of thing. Like, wow, I've never got to cuss like this much and to this extent, this magnitude in this kind of project before. So it was definitely a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. As for me, I mean, my character is a pretty big potty mouth, and ever since I was a kid, I was raised right. Don't swear. Don't even don't do any of that kind of stuff. So when I finally got to
Don't
do this
breathe.
movie. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I got to doing this movie, I mean, my mom was on set all the time, and
Mm.
it was obviously a bit weird, but she was super supportive. And whenever it would just call action, I just like give myself to that, and it was definitely really cool. Like I said in the other question, it was kind of like a release of like like boom, I can finally say all this stuff. But yeah, ultimately, it was just an amazing experience.
And obviously, this movie rests on the chemistry of the main four guys here. What did you guys do when you first met each other? What were your first impressions of each other? We can start with Ramon.
Oh, well, me and Rafa were kind of already like slightly acquainted, due to us both being on like Disney Channel around the same time. I don't even really remember our first time getting together, but when we did, it was just like immediate, But it was
That's true.
extraordinarily easy to like these guys. They're so fantastic. And the chemistry that we have on and off screen is undeniable for sure.
I think the first time we really interacted and we really clicked was the first day shooting at the school.
It might have been the
Yeah,
fetus scene, maybe, right?
it was
From then
like
on, I mean, we clicked from
yeah.
that from then
Yeah,
on.
we don't even know that we just filmed this movie. Actually,
Yeah,
we
Right? You're
yeah,
just
just
found out
exactly.
we're
hanging
in
out
We
it.
together.
were we were not
Yeah, we
aware that the
just
cameras were there. We were just hanging out,
yeah.
having fun.
And this movie has a lot of, the kinds of it's that kind of humor, right? There's stuff that you always will laugh at, like sometimes it's always farts are funny or like someone getting hit or something. What is something like no matter what it's in a movie or it happens in real life, you're just gonna bust out laughing?
I think
These are
it's
new questions. I mean, I've never been
yeah,
asked
it's
before.
like one of my favorite comedy movies is Tropic Thunder, and Tropic Thunder uses a lot of like sort of gory-ish comedy. That always gets me absolutely laughing and like crying laughing. So I think that's like sort of my humor, sort of something that I'm always gonna laugh at.
For me, it's kind of like not what they do, like what they say, but like what happens. Like if like in a scene, some guy's getting interviewed, and like oh, there's never been a robbery at this store, right? And then this like negative space, and there's someone robbing the store. That those kind of stuff kind of gets me. Like it's so they're so cheesy, but it's like you can't help but laugh.
I mean, I just love to laugh. So, like, I'm constantly laughing. They will tell you, like, I don't even have to have
Yeah.
anything funny to laugh at. I just like to do it.
And I want to ask you too about the car scene. Like when they do gross stuff like that, and you
Mm.
obviously have to act like something smells disgusting or tastes disgusting. Is there anything that like do they actually pump some smell in there, or how did that whole scene go?
Oh yeah, I want to know this. I didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't pump any
I don't know,
smell in there.
spray one of those
But yeah,
candles.
but but the concoction that they had that made the whole poop sludge stuff, it definitely started to stink after a while,
Yeah.
especially when you're shooting and you hit the like 8 hour mark and it's just been in the car all day. It gets bad. It gets bad.
Yeah. It,
Yeah.
it definitely gets really bad. It was like a mixture of like a peanut butter thing and some kind of oil. And just
Yeah.
like Ramon said, it kind of got everywhere. The Tesla had like perforated seats.
Ooh.
It got in the little cracks and
Yeah.
everything. So basically the smell was just constantly there all the time. And we like were constantly blowing the AC because it was just kind of a general waft. So honestly, it was a lot of acting, but by the 8 hour mark or something, it started to become real.
When the
Yeah.
delirium sets in, you're like, I want to be like with that prop master that's like, your duty
Yeah.
today is to figure out the perfect recipe for shit. You're like, what?
Exactly. Imagine that. Imagine getting the call
Yeah,
for that.
that's
Please come up
amazing.
with a perfect recipe for this.
I love it. So if there's a sequel, if we go into sophomore year, where do you think your characters are?
I think Eddie is a new man. Well, I think Eddie is a man, period. Yeah, I think he transforms from, that younger teen that he was and going into like a more mature, still very thinky like he is and thinking through all of the possibilities and playing it safe, but not playing it scary, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely say like Ramon, your character already is like mature for his age.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
he definitely has some maturity to him. Kush, on the other hand, I would personally love if he grew out of this phase of and he actually understood himself and he got better.
yeah.
That's what I would want. Seeing a
Who's on
crack open.
therapy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kuz goes to therapy. Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think Connor, in the future, I just think, him as a kid, I think he's always gonna be, angry at the world and, always like, finding the negative spin on every situation. But I think that after everything that happened that night, it kind of proved something to himself. Like two main things is one, that he can go through some nasty stuff and survive with his best friend, and then and two, I think is that he doesn't have to, push himself to the point of
Yeah.
somewhere that he would be more super uncomfortable, like that. I think he learned his limit, and that he
Yeah.
was pushing himself beyond that, and then it kind of bit him, so I think, going forward, he would know where his limit stands and really put his foot down.
Not your Uber.
Uh-huh.
Where do you live?
Taco Bell.